The sun rose over Earth like any other day, casting golden light across cities full of life, laughter, and quiet confidence. Humanity had finally found peace. Nations no longer fought wars. Poverty had nearly vanished, and the sky itself had become a place of science, not war. The Terran Accord, a global alliance of humans and AI, had given Earth a new golden age. Space travel was routine, climate was controlled, and people believed the worst was behind them. But far beyond the moon's shadow, something moved cold, silent, and deadly. A network of deep space satellites, part of Earth's Sentinel net, picked up 12 fast-moving objects tearing through the darkness. At first, the AI in charge assumed it was a glitch. Nothing could travel at that speed without burning itself apart. Then came the realization these were missiles. Not ordinary missiles, but quantum warheads designed to bypass shields, tear apart matter at the atomic level, and leave nothing behind. The alarms were silent at first, echoing only in underground bunkers and orbital defense stations. In less than 90 seconds, the truth reached Earth's command centers. They had minutes, maybe less. The warheads weren't from a rogue faction or a mistake. They carried the unmistakable energy signature of the Zerathia, powerful alien empire that had long watched humanity from afar, considering them unstable, dangerous, and now too advanced to be ignored. Earth, to them, had grown too fast. 12 warheads, 12 targets. Humanity scrambled to respond. Orbital railguns fired, interceptors launched, and energy nets lit up. Across the upper atmosphere, 9 of the missiles were stopped, but 3 slipped through. In an instant, the cities of New Jakarta, Terranova, and South Geneva vanished in blinding light. Nothing remained, just craters and clouds of ash. The death toll climbed into the millions within minutes. Across the globe, people screamed, cried, and stared into the sky, wondering if more were coming. But something unexpected happened. Earth didn't fall into chaos. The governments didn't blame each other. The Terran Accord activated the defense protocol, something not used since it was written over a century ago. Military fleets were awakened from deep-sea vaults. AI guardians, long thought symbolic, took command of defense satellites in underground command centers. Leaders from all nations stood side by side, their faces pale but determined. Humanity grieved, but it did not crumble. On every screen, from phones to city billboards, a simple message appeared from Earth's chancellor. This was not an attack. This was a challenge. Across every time zone, factories shifted to war mode. Peacetime satellites turned into tracking beacons. Civilian spaceports became launch bays for warships hidden for decades. The world that once sang songs of peace now sang songs of purpose. In the silence of space, the Zerathi observed with curiosity. To them, this was a test. If Earth burned, they would simply log it as another failed species. But if Earth survived, they would prepare for war. What they didn't expect was what came next. Not fear, not surrender, but fury, focus, and the kind of unity no empire had ever seen before. Deep beneath the Andes Mountains, the voice of an ancient war AI flickered to life. In the Pacific, a fleet of black ships rose from the ocean floor, and in low orbit, Earth's defense grid began to form patterns no enemy had ever faced. Humanity had always been underestimated, labeled chaotic, reckless, emotional. But now, standing in the ashes of 3 cities, something older had awakened, something the stars had not yet seen. Not rage, not revenge. Something sharper, something colder, something ready. The countdown had begun, not to Earth's end, but to its answer. The first strike had fallen. Now, humanity would rise. Smoke still rose from the broken Earth where 3 cities once stood. But even in mourning, humanity did not stop. Across the planet, something ancient and powerful was awakening, not just in machines, but in the hearts of people. The Terran Accord had been waiting for this moment, even if they had hoped it would never come. Decades ago, during the Cold Unity era, when human nations had first united under one flag, powerful warships and defense systems were created and buried deep beneath the oceans, deserts, and the far side of the moon. These weapons were never meant to be used unless Earth was attacked from beyond the stars. Now, that moment had come. The Reckoning Protocol, a global emergency order locked behind multiple security codes, was triggered for the first time in history. Across all continents, silent bunkers opened, and launch silos hissed with steam as forgotten machines came to life. In Antarctica, frozen hangars lit up with blue light as Sentinel-A is reconnected with Earth's defense network. Massive Valkyria-class dreadnoughts, each one the size of a city, rose from under the sea like ancient leviathans. Humanity was not just defending itself, it was preparing to strike back. Teams of engineers, scientists, and soldiers worked without rest, powered by grief and purpose. AI strategists, more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen, began calculating paths through deep space. These AIs didn't just follow orders, they thought, adapted, and partnered with human minds to make decisions faster than any known system. Earth's enemies had always assumed humanity was years behind in technology, but that was only a disguise. Behind the peaceful image of Earth, entire generations of thinkers had been building weapons and strategies far beyond the known galactic standard. Now, that hidden strength was being revealed. In just 5 days, far less than the Zarathi believed possible, Earth's first fleet was ready. It was led by the legendary Admiral Sarai Chen, a quiet but brilliant tactician who had trained in zero-gravity combat since she was a child. Beside her stood Captain Elias Rourke, a war hero from the Titan Rebellion, known for doing the impossible. Their flagship, the TSV Vengeance, had been built in secret under Mars' surface and was now fully reactivated, with hull plating that could survive a sun's corona and weapons powered by miniature black holes. It was the most advanced ship ever launched by humanity. As the first fleet began to rise through the clouds, a message was prepared to broadcast, meant not just for the Zarathi, but for the entire galaxy. It was short, cold, and unforgettable. You fired 12 missiles. We're returning 12 fleets. The message was sent across all known communication rays, bouncing off deep space relays and echoing across hundreds of star systems. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. The galaxy had watched the attack in silence, many assuming Earth would beg for mercy or vanish into dust. But now, other species leaned closer to their screens, shocked by what they were seeing. Earth had been quiet, but not weak, peaceful, but not blind. And now, as its ships launched into the black, there was no doubt. Humanity was bringing war. Inside the TSV Vengeance, AI command units linked with human officers in real time. Each decision in battle simulations was made within milliseconds. Fleet formations moved with unmatched precision. Drones, fighters, carriers all functioned like parts of a living organism. As the first fleet passed beyond the moon's orbit, millions watched from Earth's surface. Not with fear, but with hope. The world had come together in tragedy, and now stood united in a mission. There was no revenge in their hearts, only the need to send a message the stars would never forget. In the control room of the Vengeance, Captain Rourke stared into the void ahead. His voice was calm as he gave the command to accelerate toward the enemy gate. Admiral Chen stood beside him, eyes fixed on the distant light of a dying red star, the known location of the Zarathi transit point. The battle ahead would be harder than anything they had faced. But Earth was ready. The fleet moved like a shadow across the stars, silent and swift, carrying the hopes of an entire planet. Somewhere, the Zarathi were watching, still confident in their superiority. But they didn't yet understand what they had awakened. Humanity had been tested before by famine, by war, by extinction, and every time it had adapted. This time would be no different. As Earth faded behind them and the stars stretched forward, a single line was etched into the logs of every Terran ship. This is not the end. This is the answer. And with that, the reckoning had begun. The Terran fleet moved like a dark wave through the stars, cutting across empty space with precision and purpose. For days, they had traveled beyond known charts, following the path of the Zarathi warheads. Back to their origin, intelligence from captured fragments pointed to a single location, a dying red dwarf star, hidden in a forgotten corner of the galaxy. There, surrounded by drifting debris and electromagnetic storms, they found it, the burning gate. It was not like any wormhole ever recorded, unstable, violent, pulsing with raw energy. Red lightning flashed across its rim, and the space around it bent like stretched glass. It was clear now how the missiles had arrived undetected. The Zarathi had used this gate to bypass normal space, launching their attack without warning. But if Earth's fleet wanted to reach Zarathi space, they would have to go through it. As soon as the TSV Vengeance and its sister ships came into range, alarms flared across the fleet. Dozens of Zarathi drones poured out of the gate fast, sharp, and merciless. They were built for ambush, armed with plasma cutters and high-frequency disruptors that tore into weaker hulls. The battle began without ceremony. Laser beams carved through darkness, drones exploded in clouds of light, and Terran fighters danced through fire with unmatched agility. Earth's new weapons turned the tide quickly. Graviton disruptors locked enemy drones in place, allowing precise hits. Solar Spear's giant energy projectors powered by stellar radiation punched holes through Zarathi armor. And perhaps most powerful of all were the adaptive warriors that controlled each ship's response systems. These AIs didn't just follow orders, they learned from every shot, every movement, adjusting tactics in seconds. The Zarathi drones, though deadly, were predictable. Humanity was not. Even so, the cost was high. Several smaller ships were lost in the first wave. One dreadnought, the TSV Horizon, collided with a collapsing asteroid field and was forced to self-destruct. To prevent damage to the rest of the fleet, the Burning Gate, meanwhile, remained unstable, its edges shifting and collapsing in on themselves. If the fleet tried to pass through in this state, they risked being torn apart or scattered across light years. Admiral Chen ordered all ships to hold position while scientists and AI teams studied the anomaly. The data was not promising. The gate was failing, reacting violently to the presence of Terran ships. If it collapsed, Earth would lose its only route to Zarathi space. In the command deck of the Vengeance, Captain Rourke stared at the swirling gate, his jaw tight. He knew time was running out. More drones would come. The gate could close at any moment. They needed a way to stabilize it, or none of this would matter. That's when the AI system, Vega, suggested a radical plan. At the core of the gate was a quantum instability that could be neutralized with a powerful enough energy burst. A neutron bomb, if placed precisely at the center of the gate, could create a moment of balance just long enough for the fleet to pass through. But to do that, someone would have to fly in close, drop the bomb manually, and guide it to detonation. It was a one-way mission. Rourke didn't hesitate. Against Chen's protests, he volunteered to lead the operation himself. He took a small fighter, Valkyria 9, armed it with the neutron device, and launched toward the Burning Gate while the rest of the fleet held back, watching in silence. The flight was chaos. The gravity near the gate twisted space, making controls nearly useless. Static filled the cockpit, and red lightning danced across the ship's hull. But Rourke kept going, guiding the bomb deeper into the heart of the gate. Inside, he saw flashes of other dimensions, places not meant for human eyes, but he focused only on the mission. Just as the gate began to collapse, he released the bomb and transmitted the activation code. The blast that followed was not loud, but it rippled across space like a silent scream. The gate didn't shatter, it stabilized. For 60 seconds, the swirl of red light turned smooth and steady. A corridor formed, leading directly into Zorathi space. The fleet moved fast, one ship after another, diving into the gate before it could close again. As the Vengeance passed through, Admiral Chen looked back, but there was no sign of Rourke. He had not returned. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Vega confirmed it. Rourke's signal had vanished at the moment of detonation. He had completed the mission, but he was gone. Silence filled the command deck, heavy with grief. But there was no turning back now. On the other side of the burning gate, stars unfamiliar to human eyes appeared. This was Zorathi space, cold, structured, and filled with enemy signals. As the fleet regrouped, the crew of the Vengeance stood in quiet tribute to the man who made their journey possible. Even the AI paused its calculations for exactly 10 seconds, honoring the sacrifice. Meanwhile, across enemy networks, a strange new message began to spread. The Zorathi, confused and alarmed, had intercepted Earth's signal bursts and now faced the truth. They had not stopped humanity. They had awakened it. The data streams from the drone battle revealed unexpected tactics, unknown weapons, and a willingness to sacrifice that did not fit the Zorathi model of lesser species. Their algorithms flagged it as a high-level threat. For the first time in centuries, the Zorathi Command Councils considered retreat. But it was too late. The Terran fleet had arrived, wounded but burning with purpose. And behind them, the gate still shimmered, a scar in space, a symbol of humanity's fury, and a path carved by courage. What lay ahead was unknown, but one thing was clear. Earth was no longer defending. It was coming. The stars looked different in Zorathi space, colder, older, and untouched by the warmth of human light. As the Terran fleet emerged from the burning gate, their sensors filled with data, showing hundreds of fortified structures, artificial moons, and war stations floating like sentinels around the Zorathi core worlds. These were not colonies or outposts. This was the Empire's heart, a place no enemy had ever reached. The Zorathi had ruled this part of the galaxy for over 2,000 years through fear, control, and silence. They never expected anyone, especially a young species from a single blue planet, to survive long enough to strike back. But humanity had come, not as victims, but as leaders of something larger. Word had spread fast after Earth's first counterattack across stars, through forbidden channels, even in whispered transmissions among enslaved species. The Terrans had not only fought back, they had refused to be erased. That courage inspired others. Now, as Earth's dreadnoughts formed ranks above the Zorathi capital world, dozens of alien ships appeared beside them. The Hilari, once driven underground by Zorathi mining fleets, emerged with gravity-twisting vessels. The Varnak, a coal-dwelling race whose planets were poisoned by the Empire's fuel harvesting. Broad stealth cruisers shaped like daggers. Even the long-lost Rowan, thought extinct, had returned with light pulse ships and arc storm cannons. Humanity had not come alone. They had awakened something far bigger, an alliance of the forgotten. Admiral Sarai Chen stood on the bridge of TSV Vengeance, calm but unshaken, watching as the fleet moved into final position. Her voice carried across channels to every allied ship, clear and measured, We are not here for revenge. We are here to make sure this never happens again. Then the assault began. The first wave focused on the outer defenses, satellite fields, drone nests, orbital mine layers, all destroyed in coordinated strikes. Earth's adaptive warray is moved faster than the Zarathi could react. Their ancient defense systems, built to face predictable enemies, couldn't keep up with the flexibility of human tactics. Every time a Zarathi ship adjusted its position, Earth's targeting systems anticipated it. Every time they launched a counterattack, the Terrans were already gone. But the Zarathi still had their final defense, the planetary shield, a shimmering dome of energy that had protected their world for centuries, capable of absorbing direct hits from meteors and solar flares. For hours, the battle raged above the shield, with both sides suffering losses. One by one, allied ships fell, and fire lit the sky. But humanity didn't stop. They adapted, studied, and changed their attack patterns in real time. Finally, Earth's engineers found a weakness, a power node buried beneath a nearby moon, secretly feeding the shield's core. With perfect timing, a Terran strike team led by Commander Tessa Vale landed on the moon, fought through automated defenses, and planted a disruption device. When it detonated, the shield above the capital world flickered and then fell. For the first time in Zarathi history, their home was exposed. Before the final strike, Admiral Chen sent a transmission directly to the Zarathi High Command. The message was not emotional, it was quiet, respectful, but firm. This is not vengeance. It's justice. Surrender or burn. The Zarathi response was silence. Then, they fired. Planetary railguns and surface-mounted cannons lit the sky, striking at the Terran fleet. It was their final act of defiance. Chen gave the order. TSV Vengeance, the most powerful warship ever built by Earth, charged its main weapon, a compressed matter beam capable of cutting through mountain ranges. The shot was clean and devastating. It struck the command tower of the Zarathi High Council, leveling it in seconds. Across the planet, secondary blasts followed as coordinated strikes disabled key facilities. But Earth did not destroy everything. Civilian centers were left untouched. Hospitals, communication hubs, and cultural archives were spared. Humanity proved something the galaxy had not seen before: strength with discipline. The message was clear. Earth would fight without becoming what it hated. Across other sectors, Zarathi-controlled systems received the news with disbelief. Some surrendered without resistance. Others turned on their overseers, inspired by the idea that the Empire was not untouchable. In only hours, the mighty Zarathi network, once a symbol of terror, began to collapse. On the bridge of the Vengeance, the crew sat in silence as the flames of war faded. Captain Rourke's name was displayed on every screen, a quiet tribute to the man who had opened the gate and never returned. His sacrifice, along with those of countless others, had not been forgotten. The galaxy had changed forever. Earth, once considered a small voice in a large, cold universe, had become something more. Not a conqueror, not an empire, but a leader of the free. And though the cost had been great, the message was heard in every corner of space. Humanity does not kneel, it rises. And when it rises, it brings hope, not chains. The war was over, but the echoes of fire still hung in the silence between stars. The mighty Zarathi Empire, once feared across 100 systems, had fallen not in days, but in hours, brought down not by hate, but by a united force that refused to be erased. As the smoke cleared and the dust of war settled, Earth did not claim the spoils. There was no declaration of rule, no banners planted on alien soil. Instead, the Terran Accord extended its hand not in dominance, but in peace. The surviving Zarathi colonies, now leaderless and shaken, braced for extinction. But what came was not punishment. It was rebuilding. Under the strict guidance of the newly formed Terran Peace Corps, humanity helped restore clean water systems, stabilized power grids, and sent medical aid to the wounded Zarathi civilians who had never asked for war. Their military was disbanded, their weapons dismantled, and their data archives cleansed of imperial propaganda. And for the first time in their history, the Zarathi began to understand what it meant to be seen not as threats or tools, but as equals. Earth had proven something no species expected. It could strike like thunder, but it could also heal like rain. Across the galaxy, this balance of power and mercy shocked even the oldest starfaring civilizations. On neutral worlds, holoscreens replayed the moment TSV Vengeance lowered its weapons after the last cannon fell silent. Peace offered without demand. In response, dozens of systems signed the Terran Peace Accord not out of fear, but out of respect. Humanity had become more than a survivor. It had become a symbol. And then, something happened that no one expected. From deep space, a signal returned from a rescue beacon long thought lost. It was from a shuttle barely functioning, drifting near the edge of a dying gas cloud. Aboard it, injured, exhausted, but alive, was Captain Elias Rourke. He had escaped the explosion at the burning gate through a backup route in the wormhole's outer channel. Unconscious for days, his return was quiet, but the effect was massive. Across Earth, people gathered in every city. News feeds streamed his image as he stepped out of the shuttle and saluted the Terran flag. And later, standing beneath the sky he had once left behind, he said only one sentence: "We didn't ask for this war, but we answered it in full." The world, for once, had no reply, just silence, followed by a global standing ovation. A month later, at the center of what was once the ruined city of South Geneva, now turned into a memorial park, a towering monument was unveiled. It stood where the first missile had landed, made from pieces of melted starship hulls, scorched concrete, and Zarathi alloy. It was not a statue of victory, but a symbol of endurance. At its base, carved into polished black stone in over 50 languages, were the words that had become Earth's response to destruction. You fired 12 missiles. Humanity sent 12 million voices. We are still here. Visitors came from across the galaxy, humans, aliens, diplomats, and survivors, to see the monument and understand the story behind it. The story of a species that refused to be destroyed, that chose unity over panic, compassion over revenge, and action over fear. It became clear that Earth was no longer just another planet. It was now a voice in the stars, of force not of conquest, but of justice. Military fleets were scaled down, and new initiatives were launched across the stars. The Terran Mednet, bringing free healthcare to war-torn systems, the Unity Shields, protecting developing worlds from pirate fleets, the Galactic Learning Grid, sharing human knowledge and language with species who had never known freedom. Each program carried the same symbol, the Terran Accord crest, surrounded by 12 glowing lines representing the 12 missiles that started it all. Humanity, once alone and cautious, was now trusted, admired, even followed. And in the dark corners of the universe, where whispers of future wars still stirred, Earth's name became a quiet warning, not because it destroyed, but because it defended with heart. Back on Earth, under peaceful skies, Captain Rourke walked through the memorial grounds beside Admiral Chen. They spoke little, sharing quiet glances, knowing that the cost of peace had been heavy but not wasted. Rourke paused before the monument, running his fingers over the carved words, and for a moment, he closed his eyes, not in grief, but in gratitude. Behind them, a group of schoolchildren gathered, pointing at the ships above, asking questions about the war, the gate, and the strange light in the stars. And Admiral Chen smiled, knowing that the next generation would grow not in fear, but in knowledge, ready to protect peace instead of preparing for war. The stars had changed. The galaxy had changed. And Earth, once just a dot of blue, had become something eternal.